Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Ayo Yanga at More Immigration Solutions. So today I will be focusing on why your visa is being refused. If you do meet other requirements, or what could actually lead to a visa refusal. I've gotten a lot of calls recently saying that, oh, my visa has been refused. I've met all the requirements. I have enough money in my account. I have admission, blah, 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 and so on. First of all, get the concept of getting admission as a major stuff. Of course, you do need an admission to be able to seek for visa, study permit visa, especially. Um, but just because you have admission from a reputable or an institution with a DLI does not guarantee your visa or does not automatically mean that you're going to get a visa. That's one of the requirements out of several requirements. Yes, the institution you do have your admission matters sometimes. Yeah, they won't tell you, but of course, it does matter sometimes. What you're coming to do matters sometimes. So, for example, if you're 37 or 38, you're coming for a post-secondary education, you're coming for a diploma, you're coming for a certificate program, the chances of getting it is ridiculously slim. Of course, preference is going to be given to somebody who is 19 coming for a BSc rather than somebody that is 36 coming for diploma or certificate program. So that's those are the things that they do look at. If you're talking about 3, 5 years ago, yes, there are chances. But you're talking about 2019, 2020, your chances of getting it is ridiculously slim. Aside from the fact that we all know that US is being it's the refusal rate for US for US visa for Nigerians is ridiculously high too, or too impossible. So obviously, if the next stop is Canada, and US and Canada share the same border, so of course, the Canadian border is going to tighten their side. They are part of the deal because they're not just going to open their border, and also don't get the concept of, oh, I have money, so why don't they want me? Canada says they're doing immigration. Somebody called me and says, oh, Canada said they need people, but I have a 1 million naira. Why are they not giving me visa? Stuff like that. I will explain the 1 million naira to you. Just exactly like I told the guy. This guy was coming for visiting. And he said somebody's inviting him, is coming to do some hard work and stuffs like that. Um, and I asked him, how much do you have? He said, oh, he has about 1.5 million naira. 1.5 million naira, it's about 4,000 Canadian dollars. So that is absolutely nothing compared to what you're compared to, yes, in naira it's quite a lot of money, but in Canadian dollars that's nothing. So let's break it down. So $4,000, let's assume 1.5 million naira, $4,000. You're going to buy a flight ticket, averagely 1.8, let's say 2,000, because they're going to estimate it on a higher end, right? So let's assume 2,000. You're staying in a hotel 10 days, average hotel 150. That's 1,500. 2,000, 1,500. That's 3,500. You're going to eat, average 150 a day. You're spending 10 days, 1,500. So that's 3,000 plus 2,000. So that's 5,000. Yeah. So it's you the 1.5 million is not even covering expenses, and you're expected to have emergency fund. You are expected to do some shopping. So many things are not adding up. So when you tell me you have 1.5 million, you're coming for vacation, obviously that's not going to be enough. And a lot of you actually, another mistake you do make is you say you're coming for a vacation, you put a whole month that you're coming on a vacation for a whole month. Those expenses is going to be calculated based on the days that you're filling on that form. And I'm just saying averagely 150. A lot of officers are going to look at it and estimate feeding for 300, because basically you're going to eat. And if you're feeding for 300 averagely on a day for 10 days, that's 3,000 Canadian dollars alone. 3,000 Canadian, that's almost a 1 billion naira on its own. So, and they're not expecting you to have all the money you have, you're spending it on vacation. It doesn't work that way. So they expect you to be taking out of that money for vacation, or budgeting part of that money for vacation. And you still have a standard of living back where you're coming from. That's going to serve as part of your ties back home. And if you're married, you have children, you self-employed people, is going to be really, really difficult if you do not have a business that is making a lot of money, or a lot of people have account businesses registered, but the business has been dormant, there's nothing going on in the business, and When Canada says they want ties back home, they want something that cannot survive without you. Somebody told me, "Oh, my mom is back home." Your mom can survive without you financially. Yes, she can survive without you financially, especially if you're not the only child, right? So even if she cannot, that's what you know. Canada do not look at it that way. Your mom is an adult; she's expected to survive without you. So when they're looking for something that cannot survive without you or someone that cannot survive without you, they're most likely looking at your dependent, your child, your wife to some certain degree of expense, your job especially. And when I mean a job, you're not expected to start a job last year and telling me that that job cannot survive without you. No, that will not be considered a tie. So when you're putting your job as a tie, you're looking at a job that you've been there for minimum, I'll say 5 years, some will say 3 years, but I'll stand with 5 years because you've started a career in that part. So it will be very wise of you not to just abandon that career and just say you're running away. So that's part of the ties that you are looking for. The finances is number one, number one, number one, number one. I tell you, if you're coming to me, you're telling me that you're going to school and you were showing me an account of 5 billion. Unfortunately, I won't take you up as a client. Let's break the school parts down. So you're coming in for, let's assume, bachelor's. Bachelor's is 4 year program, even if you can do it in 3 years. But technically, bachelor's runs for 4 years. So for 4 years, accommodation, Canadian government expects you to have 10,000 for feeding and accommodation every year. Tuition on the average, let's say 12,000 per semester. So for 2 semesters, which is a year, you're looking at 24,000. I ran it up to 25,000 because sometimes tuition could go up to about 15,000 for international students. So let's say 25,000. So for a year, you're expected to have 35,000 for tuition, for feeding, and for accommodation, which most likely is going to be more than that. But let's just say that's what you're looking for. So that's 35,000 a year for just tuition, feeding, and accommodation. You're coming for a 4 year program. So that's 35,000 times 4. So that's 140,000 Canadian dollars. Canadian dollars times exchange rates. So you're looking at 42 million naira just for bachelors, right? Just for bachelors. So if you're coming in for postgraduate, which is probably 2 years program, divide that by 2. So you're looking at 21 million naira. So when you give me an account of 10 million naira and I'm telling you your chances are low, I see somebody got really mad at me saying that I don't know what I am doing. And it just does not make sense. Like I said before, if it was 2 years ago, if it was 3 years ago, if it was 4 years ago, of course, as long as you can prove that whoever is sponsoring you is making money, then it is easy to manipulate the whole application and submit it. But you're looking at an area where everything is streets. Express entry is an option. They have they're not even only dealing with Nigerians at this time. They're dealing with so many countries that have the funds. So why would they give it to somebody that can afford it? They will not give it to somebody that can afford it and will be giving it to somebody that you cannot even show that you can afford it. It's just logic. So when you're looking into applying, especially for study permits, if you have a sponsor, make sure the money is there in the account. Complete. I'll give you a good example of an application that we did last year, 2 years ago. So this lady has a sponsor, and the sponsor gave us the business account. There was quite a lot of money in the business account. So we submitted the application. Well, the sponsor gave us a letter, and the sponsor traveled out of the country. Boom, disappeared. And immigration will call sometimes. Out of every 10 applications, I can guarantee they will call 6 of the applications. So they called the bank in Nigeria and they were trying to verify the accounts. They were trying to verify if it was a genuine business account, what kind of business it was. They were talking to the account manager actually, and the account manager actually had to break down how much that was coming into the account, but could not give much details because the account manager did not get confirmation from the owner of the account. So the application was put on hold. We were here waiting. Admission is fading away. 1 year passed, we didn't hear nothing. So we wrote immigration, we find out what was happening. We were told what was going on, that they could not verify the account. So we had to reach out to the sponsor wherever he was, and we had the sponsor to actually talk to the account manager, and things were clarified. So sometimes, usually that's what happens. If your application is being denied based on funds or based on is or not, usually they won't deny it if they can't verify the account. It will just be placed on hold. But you have to find out why your account is placed on hold. But if you do not have the money, don't even bother. Because the more refusal you have on your application is the ability, or you're trying to prove how desperate you are. Don't get me wrong, I don't back down with refusals. If there is a chance that something is wrong. But if you're not meeting the requirements, you're not giving me enough funds to work with, and you're getting refusals, I won't even take you up. So you have to meet the financial obligation. A lot of you get mad at me when I tell you that if you don't have 20 million in your account, I can't take you up for study permits. Why? Your success is my success. If you're being refused, it does not look good on me, because the officer looking at the application is looking at my name on the application and is thinking in his head, why will you take up this application when the person does not even meet the financial obligation? So that's my name in there. That is me being ridiculed in front of an officer. So why do I take the application? Why waste your money? Why do I take your money? I won't give you back the money anyways if it's been refused. So why get mad at me if I tell you I'm not taking up your application because you do not have enough money in your account? That's simple logic. So number one, if you have a sponsor, you have to prove the relationship between you and that sponsor. So for example, your uncle is sponsoring you. You need a family tree. You need a birth certificate to show the link that this person is actually related to you. That is just basic. You cannot just provide the biodata page of an international passport and say, no, this person is sponsoring you. That could be stolen. And thousands of people bear the same last name together. Number one. Number two, how are we so sure that this person is even going to, as agreed to sponsor you? You could have actually just taken that person's ID and just sent it and said this person is sponsoring, or you could have gotten the person's bank account information. No. So you need a signed letter stating that this person actually is signing it. Usually I'll tell you to go and get what's it called? Declaration. Or you go and get a document notarized that this person is willing to sponsor you and is going to take the financial responsibility of your study throughout your stay in Canada. If your work is sponsoring you, you have to show the duration that you've been working in that organization and why they choose to sponsor you. Is it to increase the productivity of that organization, or what is the purpose of them sponsoring you? So those are the most important documents that you need to submit. You just don't put an application together and just throw it in. Another huge mistake a lot of you do is you do not write a letter of explanation. Does not make any sense. So this is me as an officer. You're submitting an application. I'm going through your application. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm just saying numbers. I'm just saying things. So how do I link it? But if you do give me a letter of explanation, and by the way, letter of explanation, I did not say a notebook or a history book, just letter of explanation, because this officer have a target of application they have to go through every day. So when you're having your letter of explanation, usually what I tell you to do, or what I do for my clients, is I break it down. So first of all, the reason why you're coming to Canada. Second of all, the reason why you've chosen the school. Third of all, if there's break between your age, the last time you had gone to school. So for example, you finished your master's at, let's say, 28, and you're deciding to go back to school at 38. So within that 10 years, I need you to break down what you have been doing within that 10 years and tell the officer why you've decided to go back to school. Life happens, event happens. If you're a lady, you decide to take time off to raise your children, now you're going back to school. If you're a guy, you decide to settle your family before going back to school. So there could be a series of things that has happened. I had somebody tell me, oh, I lost both parents, so I decided to work and raise money. So things happen. Immigration do understand that these are human beings that are working. So they do understand life effect and live events, and they will work with you, provided you're saying the truth. Do not lie on an application. They will know. It's just simple logic. They will know. And if this is going to be your second or third applications, refer back to your previous applications. They have it on file. You can lie. If you refuse US visa, where you're declaring, have you ever been refused Canada visa or in any other country? Please do not lie. Just say yes. They have access to those information. Yes. You've been refused visa before does not mean you are going to be refused visa again. If you meet all requirements, you're most likely going to get your visas. Yes, a lot of you says, yeah, they have quotas. They've met with their quotas. With Nigerians, I can tell you they usually don't meet with their quotas. It's just because they're looking at a lot of vague applications. And sometimes you think they can read what is in your head, but they can't read what is in your head. You have to tell them what is in your head in the paper so that they can know what is in your head. So I'm going to quickly summarize what I'm saying when it comes to why your study permit or visiting visa is being refused. Number one reason, finance. So let's go back to visiting. So if you're coming to visit, usually you will say 2 weeks. Usually I'll say 10 days because that's a lot easier to calculate. So let's say you're coming in 10 days because it's 10 business days, 4 days travel gives you your 2 weeks vacation. Yeah, so that's usually how I break it down. So you're staying in Canada for 10 days. So let's break it down. Flight tickets, $2,000, right? Return flight tickets. You're staying in an hotel, $150 averagely. 10 days, 10 times $150. So you're looking at $1,500 for accommodation. Feeding allowances, if you're coming by yourself, less than an average, $150 a day. 10 days, $1,500. Emergency fund, you're expected to have about 1,000 minimum for emergency fund. So let's put 1,000 emergency funds. You're going to buy gifts for sure. You're coming to Canada or you're going to go sightseeing. You have to pay for some places to go in there. So 1,000. So that is 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. That's 7,000. So you're looking at minimum of 7,000 Canadian dollars. Let's break that down to Naira. So you're looking at 2.1 million that they are expecting you to put aside. So remember that term, put aside, not have. So you can't tell an immigration officer that you have 2.1 million in your account and you're going to spend the entire 2.1 million on vacation. So what happens when you go back? When you get back, then you have nothing to fall back on. So that means your financial tie back home, you do not have it. So that has reduced your chances of getting a visa in the financial part. So let's talk about the tie back home. So what are you claiming to be tied back home? If you're using your employment, make sure that the employment letter you're getting from work states exactly when you're leaving, when you're coming back, what your duties are, and why that position is going to be difficult to be filled if you don't come back, and what you have to lose if you do not come back. So those are the things you want to explain in your own letter of explanation, and your letter of employment giving you time off work need to state how long you've been working for that company, how much you earn, and what the deal is if you have to leave. Do you need to give a 2 weeks vacation, 2 weeks notification before you leave, or do you need to give 3 weeks notification before you leave, or what the company has to lose if you leave, or what you're going to lose if you leave that company? So those are the things you need to put. Those are the things that are going to stand for you as your tie back home if you're using your employment. So if you're using your family, so if you're married, for example, your wife, your children, you have to be able to prove that your children cannot survive without you. If you're using your wife and your children, you have to be able to show that you have a business or you have something together with your wife that you're going to lose a lot if you don't come back to your wife. So you have to, when it comes to tie back home, those are one of the major things that you really have to go beyond to prove that you're coming back to your own country. So now let's talk about the student part. Apart from the finances, I've broken that down before. So now, as an adult coming to school, you're looking at what is it that is going to bring you back. People looking at your applications, they are not dumb, they are not idiots, they are not stupid. They know that most of you, majority, 90% of people coming in on a temporary visa are probably looking at chances of staying or migrating. Most people, yes, that's the event, that's the end goal of it. And they do understand that. But one thing that they want to also know is, if you don't get that PR, things happen, law changes, are you willing to go back home? What is it that is going to push you to go back home? So that's what you want to prove. So when you're doing a study permit, for example, there's nothing wrong in writing in your application when you're done studying. If you don't have to put it, don't have to put it. But if you have to put it, you're going to be applying for Canadian Experience class, whatever the case may be, or applying for whatever program it is to stay in Canada. But by chance, if I do not meet the requirements at the time I am done, this is what I am coming back to my home country to do. This is what is waiting for me in my home country to do. This is the business I'm going to continue to do. This is the line of employment that I'm going to pursue. This is my family that I'm going to come back to meet. But if I do get my permanent residence, I am going to include my family. They will join me, and these things that I intend to come back and do, this is how I'm going to run them. I am going to come back, manage them in the meantime while my family is settling down in Nigeria, in Canada. Then I am rounding things up to come and meet my family, or we'll be juggling both ways. So don't try to hide or sugarcoat anything. They've seen it all. Just like even we as representative or as agent or as consultant, we've seen it all. So if we know, what do you expect the visa officer to know? So they know it all, they've seen it all, and they're not only dealing with Nigerians, they're dealing with people from other countries. So they are basically seen it all. So when next you're putting your application together, bear in mind the funds, bear in mind your economic ties, and bear in mind the other requirements that you are looking at. There are country specifications, there are countries requirements. Yes, Nigerians are in their bad book, but I don't blame them. Out of every 10 people claiming refugees, they have 7 people that are from Nigerians. So it's just logic. And all of them came into the country, not all of them, majority of them came into Canada legally, either with a visiting visa or with a study permit visa, but eventually end up claiming refugee. So that means there's something that they were doing wrong and they needed to work on it. Otherwise, the immigration system is going to be considered not working, basically. So, but anyways, I hope with this video I'm able to explain to you before you submit the next application, you know what you're looking into. If you need more information on who can be a sponsor, how much does your sponsor have to have, I've already explained that. Your sponsor, if your tuition is going to be more than 40,000, your sponsor have to be able to be making over 40,000, actually over 100,000, because for somebody to give you 40,000 out of 100,000, then you know that that person actually is investing in you. Somebody cannot have 50,000 and be giving you 40,000, especially if that sponsor is not your biological parents. So those are the things you have to bear in mind, and your sponsor have to explain why they are sponsoring you. They have to. They just have to. I cannot just wake up and say I'm sponsoring somebody for what. So your sponsor have to have a financial letter support, and they have to give you reasons why they're sponsoring that person. Anyways, if you do have any other question, leave a message, leave a question on the YouTube channel. I'll try to respond to them as much as I can. Or send me an email. Like I always tell you, you don't call me and tell me what my options are to migrate to Canada. No, you have to book an appointment for that. I do charge for consultation. If you ask me specific questions, I'll give you the answer right away, but you cannot ask me to be giving you options. No, I do not have that time. You have to book a consultation and I have to charge you for that. Or you go through some of the videos that I have done and I tell you your first stop is cic.gc.ca. That is the only way you're not going to fall victim of fraud. Nobody can guarantee you a visa. Nobody. I cannot emphasize on this as much. I just cannot. I cannot guarantee you a visa. But one thing I always say, one thing I can guarantee you is your win is my win. So the more approved application I have, the more clients I get, I am happy, right? So your win is my win, but I cannot guarantee you a visa. And if you know me, I look at your application, I tell you what your chances are. If I can take you, fine. If you want us to take the risk, fine. If you don't want us to take the risk, I tell you, go and I'll review application. But most times, if you don't have the chance, I tell you up front. I know a lot of people get mad at me, you don't know what you're doing, but there's no point taking your money. And I won't put my name on an application that I see that has no chance. No, I want a visa officer to see my name on an application and know that I've done my own job before submitting an application. But anyways, I still remain Ayo Uyanga, More Immigration Solutions. If you have any question, like I said, leave your question in the comment box or send me an email. I will respond to specific questions. And I'll see you guys next time.